Welcome, everyone, to Scroll Stopping Social Media That Converts, our webinar today, part of our small business series supporting you. We come to you today from the City of Mississauga's Small Business Enterprise Center. And MBEC, the Mississauga Business Enterprise Center, if you're new and you're not familiar with what we do, we're part of the City of Mississauga's Economic Development Office, and we support small business owners just like you. The only URL you have to remember is mississauga.ca/MBEC, and that's where you're going to find all our contact information because there is a team of us there to support you. We are that central source for information and guidance to help you start and grow your business. And then, without further ado, I want to welcome Cher Jones to our session again. She's returning, and she is a social media expert, and she's going to bring her skills and knowledge to us today. A little bit about Cher is she's a corporate social media trainer and a personal brand coach with the love of technology hardwired into her personality. She's the founder of Socially Active Training and has over 20 years of PR marketing and social media and broadcasting experience. And her passion, knowledge, and expertise have been referring her to as one of North America's leading experts in online personal branding. And I have followed Cher's stuff. It is great. Thank you, Cher. She's worked internationally with private and public organizations and has a wealth of knowledge to share with us today. So welcome, Cher.
I am so happy to be here, and I'm just every single time, or this is my second time being on a webinar with you guys, and just the amount of resources you guys keep on adding to the small business community and the business community in the Mississauga area and beyond, because they're so accessible, is just incredible and exciting to see, because this is what people need right now. And you guys just are stacking up those resources in a really helpful way. And I'm so grateful to be a part of sharing what I know so that I can help people grow at this capacity. And I think it's so important right now. So just like a kudos to you guys for just doing the work that you're doing, because it is so necessary in this time. So thank you for having me. You're welcome. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're really excited to be talking about this topic. And again, as you notice, there's tons of resources coming up for you guys. So make sure you are signed up for those webinars, because there's no doubt about it, when you look at social media right now and what we're dealing with, and trying to run a business and trying to do everything that we need to do, it is frustrating. There's a lot of stuff happening. And especially if you're just learning how to leverage these platforms, or if you've moved, I've seen some of the comments already, I've moved my business entirely online, when that wasn't the plan. No one's working off of the plan that we had when we began 2020, and it's challenging. And what today's session is really about is giving you giving you insight on how you should be shaping your strategy, as well as the tactics that you can use, what's trending right now, and some of the tools that I use, because those three are required in order to do social media well. And what we've seen right now is just really a lot of people are just throwing stuff up there to see what sticks. And there's a lot of noise. There's a lot that you're competing with. Plus, you're competing with the emotions of this time, with a lot of the social transformation that's happening right now. The necessary conversations outside of business when it comes to social issues, those are happening. We're dealing with things that are happening with COVID, and what's happening with our families, with our children, with our friends, and are we going to work? Are they going to school? What am I doing? There's just so much noise out there, and still somehow we have to run a business. So at this point, it gets down to brass tacks. It really gets down to where are we focusing, and how do we manage all of this, because it's just a lot. There's a lot coming at us, as I've said before, and then a lot that's on your plate that you never thought you would have to focus on right now. So what I want to make sure is that and not every strategy or tactic that I'm going to mention may be applicable for your business. So to set expectations, this is not going to be a bunch of screenshots, and there's nothing wrong with those types of presentations. Just because we have such a variety of people and variety of types of businesses, I want to give you foundational principles that you can apply to make sure that you get scroll stopping content. Because I find oftentimes when we're seeing all this noise, when we're seeing a lot of stuff, when you see other people's content, it becomes intimidating. And I have a strategy for that, but I want you to start really, when I think about that, is really, I want to shift your approach to social media so you don't feel like this woman on the screen with so much coming at you. And the question I have for you guys, and you can jump into the comments and just ask us, it's just a basic question. Are you consistently creating content right now? Yes or no in the comments. Let me know. I look forward to seeing those results in just a few minutes. So I see a lot of no's coming up. No, and that's okay, guys. No, I'm seeing a lot of no's. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got you. Promise. Got you. And let me just pull the chat out so I have it on my screen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Criminal Minds. My setup, because I'm crazy like that, and it took time to build the setup. It did over years. I've developed it. I have 3 monitors going on right now. So Penelope, from my son calls me Penelope from Criminal Minds because he's like, your setup's just ridiculous, Mom. But okay, so I'm looking at some of the comments right now. A lot of people are saying no. This is the first time really starting creating content as of yesterday. So this is great for you, for example, Shelley, because of the fact that that I want to connect you with foundational principles. I want to make sure that that as you develop your strategy, this is something that you're going to use. And quite frankly, when most people are approaching social media, they think about it like advertising. And you need to immediately shift your mindset when it comes to social media. They think about, let me advertise my sales. Let me tell people about, our hours and why all that stuff is important, or where you're speaking and all that kind of stuff. That's all important. But here's the thing. If you're putting up content that someone's going to say, so what, who cares? And there will be people, but your ideal clients should never be like shrugging your content off, but you need to be able to attract their attention. So you need to think about value. How are you adding value? And I know for anybody who's been on any sort of webinar about social media, they will tell you the same thing. And there's a reason why everybody's talking about value, because value is what makes you stop your thumb from scrolling. So when you think about every piece of content that you are creating, there has to be some sort of value add to someone's life. And even if it is just a little bit of value, and value is interesting because it's somewhat not contextual, but it's like some people may find value out of some things and other people won't, and that's okay. But you have to know that the content that you're creating, what you're trying to do is create value while you build awareness, while you build trust, while you build likability. So you need to shift your mindset. And also, I wanted to take the pressure off, because I looked at a lot of the stats of the people who are currently thinking about using social media for their businesses, or people who already are, and what stage of business that you're at. Social media can be overwhelming as far as how much you need to put out there. I'd rather you focus on value first before you think about volumes of content. So, but I'm going to give you some strategies, tactics, and tools. So those 3 areas is what I'm going to focus on today. And I'm going to give you tips throughout. So hope you guys are ready for my tips. And we're going to start first with strategy. So if you guys are taking notes right now, I want you to write down the word strategy. because this is probably the most important area that you need to focus on when it comes to what you're doing. And the thing with a lot of people on social media, and feel free, by the way, I'm very open to engaging and interacting with questions. You don't have to wait to the end to ask questions. So if you have questions, I can handle it, no problem. So make sure or feel free to share your questions within the comments as well. But the first thing that I want you guys to think about when you're developing your strategy is business goals first. So the problem that most people think is they think that just let me focus on content. I got to create content. I got to create content. I got to do this. But they're not tying that content to their business goals. And that is like having the tail wag the dog. You need to focus on what is it you want to accomplish in this time, because your content, your social media presence, everything that you do should support that. So if you know what you want to accomplish, you start creating around that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you focus on value. So knowing that you want to start something. So I remember seeing in the chat, and feel free to share what you do with your business and what your business is about, not only just to inform me, but also for networking purposes. So for example, Diana shared that, I just saw her, she's a gift for you fashion accessories. I've moved my business entirely online because of COVID. And so one of the things that Diana, I bet, one of the things that you want to do is make sure people are aware of your business, attract new customers that didn't know about you, and also aware of the types of products that you have, perhaps what I don't know if you are what type of accessories you're sourcing, where they're from, who makes them, so those kind of things. So one of the biggest things that you have to start with are your goals. What do you want to accomplish this year? Is there a particular line that you want to focus on? Is there a particular awareness that you need to drive in order for your business to thrive? What do you want people to know about your business? And then how can you put the value under that? It's like, what do people need to know that they will find value in with your business? And when you start to think about that, it's like, even if it's things like care for accessories, right? Matching accessories, pairing accessories, what goes what, giving that product an education. What are your customers' problems? And that's when you focus on value, you really focus on solving those problems. And every business, no matter what kind of business you have, you are solving a problem. And then once you've identified that, then you're creating the content to give that value that you know about. So guys, don't forget to share what it is you're doing with your business. And let's see, starting to sell on Amazon, home and kitchen product, but you're getting ready for that, Shelley. So that's awesome. So even when you think about your content and your value, some of the things that you can start to think about is getting more information from your customers on what they are looking for and what they need and what is helpful to them. And then I have let's see, hold on, I just saw something from I think Mary Lou. I'm a transformational coach and I help women increase their income. So again, you're going to love my next slide, Mary Lou, because here's the one thing within your strategy when you're starting to think value. So for them, it's what's the value of them meeting you? How can you let them know the transformation that's going to happen? It's about, sometimes you're educating them on problems they didn't know they had. Right? So that could be also when you're thinking about what you're going to talk about, the value that you're going to help them or help them through your content with is the education, especially for you service-based providers that are on the phone on this session right now. And what you want to make sure that you're doing is especially when it seems like for that right now, okay, we've moved our businesses online. I have to be everywhere. One of the things that you want to do is, as you're thinking about your business goals, as you think about the value you provide, then you start thinking the content. The content needs to reflect the network that you're on. And this is the one thing that I can tell you is you need to start looking at, and it's about finding that sweet spot. So you need to start looking at your network that best suits your message, as well as where is the community. If you haven't built a community yet, then you're looking for the best network to suit your message. And what I mean by that is the mindset, because what you want to do, and this is all about engagement as well, because what you want to do is you want to create content that encourages conversations, content that encourages that provides an aha moment, content that makes me want to take action based off of what you're sharing with me. And that also, and you're going to hear me throughout this entire thing, tying it back to the business goals. What did you want to accomplish? So for example, Mary Lou, you might have a program coming up where your business goals are to get people through your customer journey so that you'll find the right customers that are ideal for a group coaching program or an individual coaching program. But what you need to do, rather than trying to tackle all the networks at once, because it's really overwhelming and it's a lot of content to consider, especially if you're wearing multiple hats, which I would imagine that most of you are, is focus on your money network. And the money network is one where people are willing to hear what you have to say, and they're in the mindset to receive the message, and also where you are investing your time, energy, and effort. So let me give you an example. For me, my money network is LinkedIn. I'm a corporate social media trainer. And so the conversations that I can best serve my potential clients, as well as my past clients that also become referral partners, as well as other referral partners, the content where people are ready to listen to what I have to say, quite frankly, is on LinkedIn for me. Yes, I use other networks as well, but I often use the other networks as tools. And not only where I don't want you to just think of the money network as where you're going to just post content, because you can post to multiple networks, but the grass is greener where you water it. So if you spend more time and effort in one network, you pick the best network, and the others are, of course, your clients are there. But if you go deep in one network, what you'll find is the algorithm will work for you. And that is incredibly important. And some people have two networks. So I would say my two networks, if I were to be honest, would be LinkedIn is my primary network, and my secondary network is Instagram. And what I do is I use Instagram more as a relationship building, top of mind piece, where I'm not always educating there. I try to throttle between showcasing behind the scenes, educating, yes, but also bringing people into who I am personally, in a personally professional way. So I never get too carried away, because that could be something that damages my brand. But at the same time, I make sure that I'm personal enough that people see me as a person, and they're not always expecting me to educate them on that network. Whereas on LinkedIn, while I keep it very personal and my attitude and my content is all personally professional, I always stay in my lane. And this is where I spend the time building those relationships. If you spend 80% of your effort on one network where you believe you have the best opportunity to build relationships on, and use this and have a strategy for a secondary network if you want to have two networks, you'll see that will work really well. Because what happens is when you build the relationships, people come back. They're building, you're there to respond to questions. You're there to answer questions. You're there to also engage on other people's networks. Because if you don't have that built into your strategy, what will happen is that your content won't get seen. because you don't have the relationships, and the algorithm can't determine who's your friend, who's your customer, who's interested in your products. So you've got to look at the content that is shared, the typical type of content that is shared on a product. For example, a makeup artist sharing how to do a smoky eye on LinkedIn, that's not their best option, right? Whereas it may be Instagram and YouTube might be their two best options. Whereas, let's see, for retail products, depending on what you're thinking about, Shelley, Facebook and Instagram, yes, that absolutely are your two best options. And you can think about how you're going to use Facebook and Instagram. So, because Instagram has so many shopping features as well, where people can shop your feed. Facebook too, but it's interesting, the conversations and the visibility that's happening on Instagram right now, it's still a lot more than what you're seeing on Facebook. And I'm going to talk about the strategy later, but I'll bring it up because your question is there. Facebook groups are incredible for building community, whereas having Instagram to showcase your products and Facebook groups to troubleshoot, to ask questions, to showcase trends, which you can still do on Instagram, but this promotes the conversation. So that might be a 1-2 punch for you. But what I want you to do, because I see, yes, it's overwhelming sometimes. It absolutely is overwhelming. And so what you want to do is make sure that you are creating a strategy that you can contain. And then especially if you are, so I know, Shelley, you're building your Amazon business. So that's the other thing, is you're driving people back to Amazon. So I know even within Instagram, you can still add your links and send them back to your Amazon store. So it is about building that awareness and products. And if you think about that, is maybe some of the products that you're selling, when it comes to content and value, you might want to start to think about, well, what do people need to know about these products in order to buy them? And that comes from a content perspective. And you may also want to think about ads as well. Although that's not my area of expertise, it absolutely does work. So again, I'm going to not belabor this point anymore, but focus on your money network, especially if you feel overwhelmed. That doesn't mean that you can't add on other networks, but focus and have them and post content to them, but focus your effort on 1 to 2 networks, and you will see the conversations building. You will see the relationship and the community around the value that you offer build. So focus there. All right, on to the next. One of the things that you have to do to deliver this value is create content for each stage of that customer's journey. So at the top, they're just becoming aware of you. Someone's either talked about your products or your services, and you need to think about the content that is going to grab their attention, is going to arrest their attention. So again, a scroll stopper is something that's going to stop my thumb from scrolling, right? And so you need to start thinking about, what do people need to, if they've never heard of you before, what do they need to see? What do they need to hear right away? Right? And that's to get their attention. Or someone's going to share you with them for the first time. What are the things, if you provide a service, if you, for example, you're an interior designer or you're a home stager, and what are the things that, again, a lot of your before and afters that will immediately arrest my attention in the beginning. It's helping me become aware of what you do. Or your products, if you're coming out with a new product line, and it's about highlighting those products. So again, they're catching people at the top. Then that middle, and so that could be anything from, infographics, pictures, some videos, you're getting them in there. And then you've got to think about, once you've got their attention, whether it's videos, podcasts, whatever you feel is the best way to get their attention and build their awareness around who you are and what you do or what your business does, then you've got to think more educational. So people have moved down and they're starting to think, okay, teach me something. Teach me why I need to know more about you. Teach me educate me on your expertise, educate me more on my problem, show me how you work with me, or show me how this product works. And then you're inviting them in for then you're going to the last part where they're starting to see, well, how are other people thriving with your product or with your service? So those testimonials, right? These are all things that if I'm a potential customer, these could stop my thumb. And while this is still, I want to make sure that you guys, this is the foundational stuff to your strategy. And so I want to make sure, and I'll get to your question in a second, Diane. I want to make sure that as you bring them down, you're starting to help them make a decision of working with you. And so you might have at the very bottom part of your strategy, whereas the top, it's general content. The middle is, again, giving them the resources, getting them on your list, all that sort of things, and then adding them, and then perhaps doing a webinar with them, showing testimonials. Those are areas of your content that you need to have this content in order to make it scroll stopping. So the question is, if you're focusing on Instagram, what is the best way to build followers? Are follow loops valuable? Okay, so I'm not focusing on Instagram today because there's just too many people in different areas. But as far as the best way to build followers, I know is by posting consistently and adding value with every post. And I know that's not the response that people want to hear. They want more, but really and truly at a brass tacks level, it is about the value of your content. Give me content that I want to come back to your feed for. Give me content that is worth sharing, and also stay active. Because when you stay top of mind, the stats always align with people who are posting regularly and also sharing value, because people will share that and come back. So that whole follow for follow, that sort of thing, where you're in those grooves, it's interesting because they work and then they don't, but because what you really want to do is develop followers who actually care about your product, as opposed to having a large following of people who don't care. So moving on from we're still in strategy, is you need to find your content creation sweet spot. In order for you to create scroll stopping content, you need to know what kind of content works for you. Okay. And because not everybody is loving the idea of making a podcast, and that's okay. Not everybody is loving the idea of live content. That's okay. Some people love Canva and want to create graphics, and don't worry, I'll share some tools of what I use. But it's one of those things where you have to recognize that you need to know what you're good at. You need to know what you can be consistent at. Some people love writing and love writing blog posts, and they can add value in that. Some people love photography. They love taking pictures. They love creating the fast motion videos or reels, or which are videos on the new style of video on Instagram that's inspired by TikTok, where you've got dancing and words. Those are not my favorite kind of videos, but they work for some businesses. But you need to find your content creation sweet spot in order to create scroll stopping content. And this, again, is all foundational stuff, because you have to be behind it. You have to want to create it. So for myself, one of the things that you want to start thinking about is what you like. So for me, I like creating live content, because all the prep is up front. You go on live, you do your song and dance, you make mistakes, and it's okay because it's live content. Whereas for me, when I compare that to creating videos, while I love the end product of my videos, it requires so much time, effort, and energy. And it's very hard for me to keep my perfectionism at bay. So what I've found for myself is when I have a live show weekly on LinkedIn called Just Ask Share Live. And I prep for that, and then I'm ready to go live. I've set it up, and I'm going to talk about some strategies later. I've set it up, and it allows me to shine, and it also works with my procrastination issues that I have when I have to do video editing. I'll go and I'll shoot, and that for a video, for example, and then if I make mistakes, I'm doing it a million times over. Whereas when I have to do a live programming or a webinar like this, it's just, I got to get ready in advance. I've already made an appointment with my audience, and here I am. And then I have to go, and I got to push through the awkwardness, push through whatever mistakes, push through, and just get her done. Whereas when I create videos, sometimes I get backlogged in editing. So there are other ways to tackle that, and whatever works best for you, you need to find your system and find that sweet spot. So the sweet spot really is content you love to create, content that not only do you love to create, because I love creating videos, but there are processes in place that don't work best with me. So while I recognize that when I don't have help on creating them, they might get stopped up. And third is the value and the type of content that makes sense for your sweet spot. That makes sense for your money network, right? Because not all content, like I was explaining before with the makeup artist example, showing how to do smoky eyes on LinkedIn may not work. But content on LinkedIn that may work for that makeup artist is showing how he runs his business and how he works with different television companies, or what he's doing right now remotely. And so it's contextualizing it to the network. So that's the other thing that you have to start doing when you pick your money network and you're finding your content creation sweet spot, is making sure that the content reflects the mindset of the people who are on that network. And so it's really a convergence of them all, so that they're ready. It's content you love creating with no barriers or very few barriers. The content makes sense for the network, the culture and the network, and you actually get it done. So that's your sweet spot. Okay, so the next thing that you want to make sure when you're building out your strategy is making sure that you are intentional. And I mean intentional about interaction, because this is how engagement happens. This is how, when we see that there's a lot of engagement on content, we also stop. That makes us stop, because we want to see what people are talking about. Right? We know that they've done away with like buttons or views of likes on Instagram. We're seeing that in different areas, but not everywhere. And you want to be intentional about interaction. Not only that, when you are intentional about interaction, so building in engagement into your posts, so asking people for a comment, using interaction tools like questions, polls, quizzes. This gets people interacting and engaging with you, telling people to comment down below, telling people where they can do business with you. All this stuff or telling people to DM you. All of this stuff creates relationships within the algorithm and, of course, with your customers. Because if they're talking back to you, they're interested, right? And so the relationship with the algorithm means that your content is more likely to be seen with somebody who interacts with you. The algorithm favors content where it sees, and this is no matter what network we're on. So this is, again, I want to give advice, network agnostic advice. If you are the author of the post, so you made the post and you are responding to comments, it also increases the value of the post and more people will see it. And what you want to also make sure that you're doing is you're driving interaction to your post. So when you're posting stuff, you want to be posting at a good time. And that's also being intentional about interaction, because you want to make sure that people within that first hour or so, LinkedIn, and they give you a little bit more time, is about 2 hours. They want to make sure that people are commenting, because that has way more value than a like. If they are sending you a direct message, that has a lot of value too. So you want to make sure that you're asking people to engage, because that stops attention when we see all this activity on a post. When you're asking them a question, they see that question right away. Again, it makes you stop your thumb and want to engage with your customers. So that's incredible. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is your tactics. And tactics are the things that you're actually doing. Those, what I talked about before, was really strategy that must be embedded in within your tactics. So knowing what network to be on, and making sure that you are prioritizing interaction and engagement, right? That has to be with every post. Making sure that you're delivering value with your posts, that has to be there. And so all those things has to now fall into, well, what are you doing? What are the things that you're creating content with? So the first thing that I want to talk about is, and I think this is incredibly important as far as the tactics that you can do to make sure that you're creating scroll stopping content for your audience, is what's stopping your thumb. So when you're scrolling through any network that you're on, stop and look. What made you stop and look? Like, analyze the post. It doesn't matter if it's in your network, in your industry, doesn't matter. What I want you to do is look at it. Was it the design? Was it how they used a pop of color? Was it the photo of the person? Because what you may want to see, for those of you who are service-based providers, when you see someone who takes a really cool branded shot, you like how they're using their photography and it's not boring or typical. What I want you to do is take a screenshot of anything that captures your attention. On the different networks, they allow you to save content. But I find, for me, while you can save it on, there's a save button on Facebook, there's a save button on LinkedIn and Instagram. While you can save it, I find that me putting on my phone, as just screenshotting it, and then I save it to an album so that I can go back to it later when I need ideas. But don't just screenshot it. I want you to analyze, look at it. Again, looking for, was it that? So here are things you can look at. You can look at the graphics and the colors. How was it? How did they work together? Maybe it was, what you loved about it was how they used the font. The font looks phenomenal. And then you can try to mimic that font. It doesn't matter that they did it. This is for your content, right? But you can look at the font, and maybe it's the font pairings, because that's one thing that's challenging, is for fonts to be pleasing when you look at them, to make me want to stop, or perhaps something made you stop in a bad way. What was wrong about it? What didn't you like about it? What was like, oh, I can't stand this, right? Again, back to photos that you like, maybe the angles that they took the picture, maybe how they used the portrait mode on their camera, where, they have that blurry background. That could be something. Whatever it is that made you stop. Also, look at the copy. How did they write the caption copy? Was there a question? Did they use emojis? How did they format it? Right? What questions did they ask you? What did they reveal? How did they ask you to engage? All of those things matter. Or maybe how they edited the video, right? Or created an infographic. Study the things that make you stop, because this will be your idea file. In marketing, they call it a swipe file, because trust me, there are no new ideas under the sun, just new and improved ones. And you can take those as inspiration, right? It could even be how they wrote their headline and looking at that and say, oh my gosh, I like how they wrote that. Now, how can I apply it to my business? Right. And you start with what they've given you, and then you start to change it up and make it your own. Don't overthink this, especially when you have good ideas. So I want you to keep that scroll stopper idea file. I also recommend having either a note in your phone. I like a program called OneNote where I keep all my ideas, because you could be sitting watching TV and all of a sudden an idea comes to your mind. Where are you going to track that idea? Because you have to have a place where when you are forcing yourself in the moment to get creative, you can go back to these ideas to spark that content creation or spark an idea around what you can do with your content. So make sure you have a place where not only are you saving what you like, but you're also having a place where if you come up with an idea just because you saw something, because you're inspired, you put it in there. Or it could also be customer pain points. As a customer is saying something to you, you're like, oh my gosh, that's an idea that I need to put away for later. So make sure you have an idea file happening. Okay. And again, I like OneNote because it's organized like a binder. So it's something, that I can use. So I like the question that's coming up from Sarah. Do you have tips for writing good copy, stuff that doesn't sound robotic? One of the things that I like to do, Sarah, is how would I talk to my customers about what I'm writing about? So I find that it is often hard to write without editing. So I use something called otter.ai, or you can use, if you should have some sort of voice to text dictation in your phone. If you have an iPhone, I know it's Siri, you just hit the microphone button and it will voice to text you if you're using notes, and speak it out first. And Otter AI is a voice to text app. And what it will do is it will give you what you were saying, and then you can start to edit it from there. Because nothing's robotic when you're speaking it to your clients directly. So this way, it'll allow you to get what you have to say out, and then you can edit it from there. And if you don't speak in formal tones, don't all of a sudden turn your copy into formal tones. Keep it conversational. And again, the best way to get that conversational tone right from the get-go is to literally speak your content into existence. You can ask yourself a question and then answer it, and then you start to edit. So I hope that helps. The next thing that I want you guys to do is, when you're thinking about creating scroll stopping content, you need to review your calendar for social opportunities. And here's what I mean by that. And I'm not necessarily, talking about an event that you're going to, but what I mean is how can you share what's going on in your calendar as a social opportunity? So for example, anybody who's sourcing products and they are getting samples that they're looking at in the mail to test, to take a look at, to see how they work. You can talk about that journey of sourcing the right products to get what your clients need, and making sure that you're not selling junk, for example. Or if you're testing colors, if you're testing jewelry and showing people how your fashion accessories, how that works, what's happening in your calendar that week. Are you having a meeting with somebody, one of your suppliers? How can you socialize that? That could be as simple as telling a story where it's like, hey guys, guess what? Today I'm going to be talking to this awesome supplier, and I'm really excited about what they have to show me. So I'm literally making this up on the spot. And one of the things that I'm looking for with this supplier is to make sure that this gadget and gizmo will work with this application. So I'll keep you posted, but that's what I'm doing right now. And then you can take a screenshot of the Zoom call, or something that showcases that you're, or even like you writing notes. Maybe some of your notes, like you can create just a picture of your notes and kind of blur it out a bit. And it's just, again, things, or a sketch or anything, things that show people what you're doing, because that's in and around the awareness piece of the time, effort, and energy that you take with your customers, right? It could be a debrief. For example, you know that you have clients all day Monday. Maybe there are ways that you can showcase, at the end of the day, the 5 things that you talk to your clients about. At the end of the day, you can create content around that. Okay. And so also, if you are headed to any virtual events, or if you're sourcing materials physically, right? If you're building the before and afters, you look at what you have set up. How can you tell the story? And then what you want to do is make sure that you have, make sure you do it in a way that creates value, because again, that's what's going to make people stop. Not just the glitz and the glam, but the value behind it. What's that insider information that only you can provide, right? And the other thing that you want to do as you are looking for those social opportunities in your calendar, you want to look for what I call the evergreen angle. So say, for example, you could be talking about it in the moment on stories, but then also look for how you can shift it so that it doesn't matter when this happened, it's still valuable information. So you can tie things directly to the date and time of what's happening right now. If it's something to do with Halloween, for example, and you're sourcing for that, but then you can still create 2 types of content at the same time. So it's the same instance, but one is about the now, and then the other is about the lesson in the activity. So it doesn't have any, you could use that content whenever. So for example, let's use Halloween as an example. Sourcing Halloween accessories right now is like the right now content based off of your calendar that's scheduled on this week is, here's what's hot right now. Here are the things that I'm seeing trending for Halloween 2020 in our virtual. How can we get glammed up for Zoom with Halloween? You know, bring that element of surprise to Zoom. Okay. Then the evergreen angle is, you could create content around your process for sourcing for holidays, right? Where you could share that at any time, but you create it at the same time because it's happening. So if you start thinking strategically, that's a 2-in-1. You're talking about the now, but then you're also thinking about the other angle. So the evergreen comes from, evergreen is always green no matter what time of the year it is. So that's what you want, is content you can use no matter what time of year it is. So that's what you're thinking about. And again, focusing on the value. All right, so I'm going to look at Amy. She has a question. Just give me 1 second. I'll take a look. So this is a great question. So when is the ideal time to start my social media accounts and posts? Should the business be up and running, or can I start teasing the business idea before we're actually able to offer the service? Absolutely, Amy, this is a wonderful question, because you can look at your calendar right now. What are you doing to prepare for this business? Right? What are the steps in place that you can share the process or the journey? What's most important to you? The things that you're doing to get things in place for your customers, the insider view of all that you're doing, where it creates fascination. It shows me that I care. And what's really cool is that at this point, you're not even selling anything. So you're building the relationship way before you start to sell. So your job is to look at your calendar. Let's go back here. Look at your calendar for those opportunities where you can tell the story of the build, tell the story of the service or product that you are creating. And this also gets you used to creating content and start to see what people are really interested in. And and if you are starting your business and your social accounts, how do you start posting with no or just a few followers? Here's the thing. Everybody starts with their first follower. Everybody has one follower when they first open up an account. You got to post for the followers that are going to come, the people who are looking you up for the first time, and your account creates credibility for them because they start to see, you can start to bring them in on the journey. So when you're looking at your calendar and you're also thinking, what's valuable to my future customers? How can they get to know me? That's your top of the funnel. This is creating awareness. So it's phenomenal. And as well, you have to think about your activity on social. How are you engaging and interacting with your potential customers and with referral partners who right now it's almost like it's no pressure engagement because you're not at this point feeling like that you need to sell them something. You're just letting them know what's going on. Okay. And yes, it is okay. And I'm going to talk about reposting content in a bit once you get more followers. Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things that people do is they think that content's a one and done thing and that causes all kind of stress, but I will address that shortly. Okay, so after you're looking for that evergreen angle, one of the things that I want you to do, especially as you're creating content, and if you're looking at your calendar in advance, you're looking for multiple angles, multiple things, because you can probably within one instance, one event, one thing that you're doing, you can probably create 3 different types of content within there so that the here and now content, the teachable moment, and a fascinating angle or fascinating tidbit of information that you can share or just insight into the behind the scenes of what's going on. So what you can do is, and then if you're thinking in evergreen, which goes back to what I said, is the fact that you can use it again. You can repurpose pictures. You can look at that and talk about things from a different perspective down the road. So what you want to do is create it with templates, because once you find stuff that's working, so if you've been taking ideas and eventually, because this stuff takes time, I don't want you guys to think that all of a sudden you start creating content on Monday and by Wednesday you're perfect. Like it's just not going to happen that way. This stuff takes time. But what you want to think is, for example, with a tool like Canva, Canva, for those of you who've never heard of it.com, it is like a business owner's dream, especially if you're responsible for creating content. What you can do is once you give yourself time and grace to figure out what's the flow of your content, what it's going to look like, what are your best fonts, and that will come over time. But so don't expect perfection in the beginning. But over time, once you've got, oh, I love this, what you can do is swap out the pictures, change what you've written on the text while keeping the font the same. And once you have these templates, it makes it very easy for you to produce. If you're into live content and you're thinking about creating a show, if you have a template, or in the live context or creating a show content, so call it a rundown. So it's an agenda of your show. Or you're creating a video and you have your videos typically have the problem in the beginning and then the intro to who you are and then diving into the first 3 points and then your recap and then your call to action. That could be your template. And if you have a template set up, every time you do a video, if you follow that format, it makes it much easier because you know how you're going to flow into your content. I even suggest thinking about a storytelling template when you're telling stories, because when you're doing that, that allows you to think about, okay, what's the story? If I'm using stories, so Instagram stories, LinkedIn now has stories, friends. So if you haven't been on LinkedIn for a while, they're rolling out stories as well. So you can talk about, you can create that type of content that disappears in 24 hours and there's no pressure, right? Also, you can think about a format. So again, using that same structure, talking about the problem in one story. So here's what I found, and here's what people do, and here's an idea of what you can do, for example. So what you're doing is making sure you have a beginning, middle, and end in anything that you're creating, and also create your content in batches. So looking at your social calendar, looking for the evergreen angles, looking for the in the moment angle, looking for just insight and things that you can do, create it at once, so that you should, as a business owner, and I sometimes I'm almost convicted because I'm doing the do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. And sometimes what we shouldn't be doing is creating the same content on, especially more produced content. We should already know, I would say about 80% of the content that we're going to post, that should be planned in advance. And the other stuff is on the fly as we do it, as things happen. Okay. And let's see. Hazel says, I don't post the picture of myself in my business page in Instagram and Facebook. I only talk about products, information, and the value through pictures and content and post. And you're saying, I don't know if it's a good strategy. Here's what I know, Hazel. It's a better strategy if you include yourself, because you are the expert behind the product and the information. You know what you're talking about, and people do business with people, especially as you're building your business. You're the one they're trusting behind the products, behind the information. So you should talk about it. You should get on camera, whether it's a picture of yourself, try video, for example. Stories are great because it's only 15 seconds at a time. If you're on Instagram, 20, if you're on Facebook or WhatsApp or LinkedIn. So try it, get out there. You'll find that people will want to ask you questions. And that should be something that makes people want to stop. It's like that scroll stopping in there, especially if I've never seen you before. Oh, that's Hazel. That's the person who's doing this. And it's so fascinating. And people will always look at pictures with people. So if there were two pictures, if you saw the same beach, the exact same shot, the exact same angle, and picture number one has people in it, you won't even look at picture number two. We are drawn as people to people. And I'm getting sales still using Facebook ads. Absolutely, you will get sales. But now it's like, as you're attracting those attention, that attention is getting people that behind the scenes, sharing who you are, sharing why you choose to do things a certain way with content. It doesn't have to be all your content, but I definitely think that you should be testing that and getting used to it and see how it goes. Always be testing. Okay. And so create with templates and in batches. And perfect segue, a video strategy is a must have. The reason why is, here's what we know, is that by 2022, so we're just talking just down the corner, 80% of all traffic on the internet consumed will be video. That is the projection right now. So here's why you've got to make sure video is in your strategy. You've got to do it because if 80% of the content consumed is video, that means that's what people are naturally trending towards. That's what people naturally look at and consume more of and expect. So we have to remember that the algorithms are feeding us stuff that we like to consume. So if you like to read more links to articles, you'll find that your feed may have more links than the average bear. But most people, what's trending right now is video, especially video. We have to remember when we're doing it, captioned video. So Facebook, for example, has added automatic captions to all their videos now. And so that is something, because the trends dictate that 50% of people who are watching video online right now are watching it with the sound off. So they've only added the captions on Facebook, and this has been very recent. Within the last week or 2 weeks, that's when I've seen them really roll it out as a regular strategy. And so we have to recognize that, but also recognize the fact that you can create videos with captions as well. So keep that in mind. And either way, you have to have a video strategy, whether it's story video, whether it's videos with just pictures and voiceovers. There's so many apps now that you can create video with, or even if it's going live. And again, I love the live format personally because it just forces me to get her done and get on air. And when you have a beginning, middle, and end, and I do a lot of talking about that, is it allows you to it allows you just to complete it, and you've got to find your sweet spot for content. So you see how these foundational principles that I shared in the beginning come into play. But no matter what, you must be creating video right now. And there's so many easy ways to create it that are less pressure filled than before. There's an app, for example, if you don't remember what you're going to say when you're on video, you can use a teleprompter app called Big View. And I believe right now on a website called AppSumo, APP Sumo, it's like a sumo wrestler, SUMO.com. They have a lifetime deal on it for $69. And it's literally, you can have your words streaming. So you can read your words on your phone or on your tablet. And it makes it look, they put the words in, they order it in such a way that it still makes it look like you're looking at your camera, and you can practice your script and get it on like that. So that might be something for you. But either way, consider video, whether it's showcase videos of product, how it works, whether it's you on camera, whether it's a PowerPoint or a video sales letter. So it's a voiceover with words, whatever, or doodle videos. No matter what, you got to have video into your strategy. And again, it's about finding that sweet spot. So the site, Mary Lou, was app, so like app, AppSumo.com. I'll warn you from now, they have amazing lifetime deals on different products, but you could become a digital product junkie like myself. My digital garage is full of stuff and products that I thought I was going to use, but I test them all the time for a segment on my show called Tap That App with 2 P's. And so, but yes, they have amazing lifetime deals. So I buy products that I never have to pay a monthly fee again on. So yes, thank you for sharing that, Laura. Laura, I appreciate that. So the link is in the comments, guys. And here's something else when you're thinking about creating video. So even right now, what's hot and what's trending are video podcasts. So whether you do a video podcast, whether you do a podcast, whether you do a video series, whether you're doing, whether you are creating a series of blog posts, a series of documents, because documents really do well, graphic documents on LinkedIn, or gallery, a series of gallery posts. One of the things I tell people to do, especially when they're starting out, because video can be so intimidating, is create a series. So give yourself a beginning, middle, and end. So rather than, oh, I'm going to start doing videos on Instagram, or I'm going to start doing videos on LinkedIn, I'm going to do a live show. Why not try doing a 5-part series on this issue, this problem, this product and how it works, a breakdown or whatever it is. Or you can also give yourself an out by creating seasons. So some people, what they'll do with a podcast, for example, they'll create all the episodes before they launch it in one season. So they'll drop it like a Netflix series, right? All of the episodes in one season are available now. So what they can do is, and I really like this, for example, especially for service-based providers, where they may want to create a teachable, something that again is based off of what you're telling me, you're promising me for listening to this series, it will give me that. That's going to stop my thumb. So think about the promises. the value that you're adding in your content, right? So create a series or a season. And this way, it gives you an out at the end. It gives you a chance to catch your breath and decide if that type of content is really for you. But it forces you to do more than one. It forces you to be accountable, and you get her done. So those are different ways that I think are so powerful. And yeah, Mary Lou, it's a great idea because it gives you the breather. It gives you a very clear focus of what you want to do within that series or that season. And then it gives you an end point. So you're starting with the end in mind, you're planning it out. And then hopefully when you're creating that video, it's in a series. So there should be going back to it, and you'll see how all of my tactics and strategies, they're weaving in with each other. So you're creating, so if it's a series, you have somewhat of a template. So once you have that template that you're creating off of and you're creating multiple episodes, whether the video, whether the blog post, a series of blog posts, you know what you're covering, you know how you're going to write it, whatever the case may be, is you are going to, you create it in such a way that you'll be able to batch create because you have these templates, and you can do it all at once, or you can plan for it in advance so it's ready to go. Another thing that I like to do that allows you to take pressure off yourself is set an appointment with your audience for your content. So my show is every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I let people know that all the time. So what I'm doing is I'm letting people know when to expect me. And that's incredibly important, because when people know when they can expect you, they'll start looking for your content, which takes the pressure off. As opposed to scrolling through, they're scrolling, hey, it's Tuesday, share post. They're looking for me. And rather than me just showing up, it takes pressure off, because people, especially if you're delivering value, people will come find you for that value, right? So what I do is tell people, hey, even if, especially if the content piece is overwhelming, right? Creating content all the time. Decide on the days if you want to label your content. We know the typical things like Monday motivation. Maybe you want to post something every Monday around that, but very specific to what you offer, the products, what the services, right? And oh, I love it. Tiffany saying definitely inspired me to do a series. Yes, Tiffany, do that series and set up an appointment. So like your show, and you have to think about as well that content sweet spot as well as your money network. When do they want to consume that type of content? And that's really important as well to arrest people's attention. So is it something really heavy that someone has the time to watch at 7:30 in the morning? No. Right? Or if it's that motivational hour, then it's perfect. If it's just a minute and it's motivational, Monday morning at 7 a.m. is perfect. You've got to think about when you're setting this appointment so you can let people know when to expect your content, especially if it's a series or a season, when you're going to drop your next season, for example. It could be like the first of every month, whatever. But bottom line is that you're setting an appointment with your audience for this content. And that's incredibly important because they'll know when to expect it. The other thing, I touched on this earlier through a question. Once you have created content, you need to remix it. So that's the cool kids say, or at least that's what I tell myself. But you probably heard the word repurpose. And so that means if you've written an epic blog post, you put your time, effort, and energy into doing that. People expect your blog posts every Friday or every Tuesday, whatever the case may be. Isn't it time you turn that blog post into a video? Isn't it that time that you turn that blog post into maybe an audio post so people can listen to the blog post? There is an app called, and it's a web-based app called Headliner. And what you can do is you can use pictures and record your voice. And what it will do is it will put the sound waves of your voice over pictures or over a picture. You can put it just with font, for example, so just a headline. And what it allows you to do is share your blog post in an audio format, or use it to create a video. Or from your blog post, maybe there are 7 tips that you shared or 5 tips. Create a quick tip sheet. What you want to do is constantly remix it, because if you're creating this content, you're putting your time, effort, and energy into creating value. Because remember, that was one of our number one tenets. It's all about value. That means there's more than one way to share that value. So rather than trying to create brand new things and new ideas and new concepts, it's remixing what you've already spent the time, effort, and energy on there. Yes, so headliner.app. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate you sharing the link for that. And so make sure you remix and reshare it. So just because you shared something once doesn't mean you cannot share it again. So mind you, you don't want to share the same thing in the same week. And what's really cool with, I know Instagram for sure, especially if you're promoting something, what you can do, and it makes your Instagram profile look ugly if you're sharing stuff that, it's no longer, it's a sale item, for example, or it's an event and the date is over it. Now you've dated your profile, but what you can do is archive any posts that are no longer relevant to the feed, so that it keeps your feed a little bit cleaner looking. So that's something that you can do, so that you can, it's just with the 3 dots, you'll see archive this content. So it doesn't throw it away, it just puts it in the archive for you. But if it's been shared, if you created a gallery post, what's great with gallery posts, that could be a roundup of all your posts on this particular topic over time, right? If you share a lot of motivational stuff, you could create you could take maybe like your 5 best motivational posts and create a gallery with a cover that says the 5 best motivational posts of my life. And then you can scroll through it and you can see your best. So you can pull your best back together. You can also, if it's way down in your feed, you can absolutely reshare it, because the same people are not sitting there saying, oh, she shared that 3 months ago. If it's evergreen, again, back to the strategies and the tactics, if it's evergreen, there's value to share it again. It's not dated. So that's why you want to do it. And that's why even when you're creating content, by double creating, or just at least double capturing, sometimes you're capturing the in the moment by telling stories, and tell lots more stories, and sharing what's happening, and then creating that evergreen content that can be used anytime. So those are the more teachables, right? But stories are incredibly important right now. Definitely, because they are, bottom line is they're getting the eyeballs. Right now, 500 million users right now on a daily basis for stories on the Facebook platform, which includes Instagram as well as WhatsApp. So 500 million daily users. Keep in mind, there's 2 billion people using Facebook, but 500 million daily users, that's huge. And we know they're getting the eyeballs, so much so that LinkedIn 2 weeks ago started rolling out on a massive scale stories on their platform as well, because that's where the eyeballs are going. Again, thinking about the sweet spot of the network, thinking about what network makes sense and what you're sharing on that network, what people are expecting to see or learn from or experience. Keep that in mind, but tell more stories, because the networks are prioritizing them as well, and you will be seen and heard. And it's great because it takes pressure off of creating daily content where you don't have to create so much content. And so the question is, how much content should I create? How much value can you provide? How can you remix that content? How much should you post? The stats will say post once a day, content once a day. For most people, that's too much. And let's just be real about that. But by creating stories, for example, that allows you to continue to post And then on your profiles, that's where you can, and this again, this is network agnostic because all of the networks have stories. Facebook, although most people don't have access to YouTube stories, but they're there. All of the major networks have stories. So you've got to think about how you can tell those stories and interweave it with your content. So leverage them. Do not ignore stories. And they also get you used to being on camera, being on video, showcasing what's going on. Here's another strategy that I think more, especially retailers, should really start considering. Ask your customers to create content for you. And this could be by giving them a branded hashtag. And I think every business should have a branded hashtag for their content. I use hashtag #JustUsShare, just in case you were asking. But ultimately, what you can do is create an experience with your packaging. Create, so for example, I remember buying the content planner, and it's a physical book. And what you get inside is there's the first thing that you see is this little card is showcase your unboxing experience using hashtag content planner. And what she now has is all these people showcasing their unboxing that she can now share that content with her network. Share your best tip on how, or share your outfit of the day, share how you accessorize. What did you do to accessorize? We want to see your outfit. We want to see what you've done with this product. We want to see how you use this product. Let us know. Did you find an innovative way? Asking people, including that as part of your process, or maybe creating a contest around, they call it user generated content. So UGC is the nerdy marketing term, but that's what you want. The one thing that you want to do with user generated content, especially now as business owners, even though you're asking them in advance to create the content, and the understanding is, hey, I asked you to create this, or even if they tag you in an event or a thing or whatever, you still want to, from what I'm reading, the best practice advice is still want to send them a quick DM saying how much you loved the post. Do you mind if we reshare it? And then when they say yes, then you screenshot that permission just so you have it. And you want to make sure that you are clearly communicating, who shared it, and tagging them in that as well. And then you can decide which ones you want to share in stories, or maybe create content around your user generated content, so that remixing their content that they're sending in. That's definitely something that you want to do. And so Shelly's asking, how do you find new followers on Instagram? Do you go to people you know? Very basic, but does your Instagram grow if you don't know who might buy your products? So the things with Instagram specifically is hashtag usage is incredibly important. You can use up to 30 hashtags. Some people say use them all. Some people say it looks spammy. You got to experiment with this. You want to make sure you're thinking about the keywords and don't just use all the popular hashtags. You want to make sure that you have a mix, but this is like a whole other webinar for another day. But the other thing that you can start to do is think about who your referral partners are on the network. So who might refer your businesses? Where do your customers shop? So what you have to do is, remember when I talked about top of the funnel content, what kind of content, especially right now, what type of content do you need to create awareness around the problem that you solve, the products that you use, how people can use them, that sort of thing, that top stuff. You want to make sure that as you are outreaching to people in the networks, and guys, this is not just Instagram, this is everywhere. You want to make sure that as you're out there commenting and liking other people's stuff, that when people come back to your profile, it is credible. So I see what you do and it makes me, it's follow-worthy. It's scroll stopping. I see things that are capturing my attention and that makes me want to follow you. So capturing your attention could be even from your headline on your profile, how you position yourself. If you're on LinkedIn, it's your headline plus your picture and then your about section. You want to create stuff. You want to basically get out there. So on Instagram, for example, you want to get out there, think about where your ideal client and potential ideal clients may hang out. What are they interested in? Go there, start commenting and liking on those posts. Liking, and the real strategy is liking people's comments and replying to people's comments, as well as potentially the post. But what you're looking for is being consistent with the content that you think your potential clients might like. And then also you're literally going out hunting. You're going to find the content that they like and start engaging. And this is what I call the sweat equity of engagement. It's literally work, and it will, with work and over time and being consistent, you will see your followers growing. Because if you're putting value out there, if you're putting things I need to know, want to know, didn't know I need to know, you're educating me, you're showing me how things work, I will follow you because it's good content. So really focus on the value. So the next thing, and I'm almost down to my last few tips, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions you guys might have, is create a group. I've seen this strategy work so well on so many different examples. So this could be a customer group, very exclusive group. It could be a general group that you create the conversations in, which then those who become customers get into a private customer group, for example. Facebook is still hand over fist the best place to create a group right now, socially speaking. People are using comment threads on Instagram, but right now I think that most people are seeing these incredible success on Facebook. Facebook is also favoring groups as an interaction because they were trying to make sure communities happen. And so what you can do is in your groups, what you can do is start to create content or share content that helps people need to know what they, it's like you're preparing your customers to do business with you. So especially if you're a service-based provider, there are things that your customer needs to know so that they can be a better customer for you out the gate because they already know certain things. Or what do they need? What kind of things do they need to buy or know before they buy your product or service? Creating groups around that. So, or they could be support groups. So I know one woman, she has a waist trainer product, and we're talking, she's definitely in seven figures now with this business. And so what she created was Waist Trainers 101. And it basically shows people how to use the product, and she rewards, and she has now rabid fans. There's like, I know she's in the 100,000 plus members in this group. It's pretty crazy. And but what she does is she rewards people who are her super fans. So she'll give them free product because they're answering questions, they're they become moderators in the group. There's so many different ways. For other people, they're creating private groups where they're having a challenge. So you create the content that helps people be aware of their issue, then create a challenge around preparing them to work with you. And that could be goal setting, that could be visioning, that could be, beating habits that help them become healthier. And you create this group, but what you're doing is you're building trust. And so I get a question here. What are the best practice about doing an Instagram giveaway? So the one thing that you want to do with an Instagram giveaway is, and I'll get back to Mary Lou, your question as well around groups, is with an Instagram giveaway, you want to make sure that you're using a good third-party contest app so that you can you can use that to moderate, and you have funneled in the information that you want to get from people, and it can track it that people are following your instructions. The best practice that I can say when it comes to giveaways, whether it's Instagram or anywhere else, is one, promote it before the giveaway happens so people are getting excited about it, but don't over promote. Like, don't do it for months. You got to give yourself maybe about a week lead time. And then as well, do not overcomplicate the instructions. So what a lot of people do is they're like, okay, you've got to like my post, tag 4 people, follow me on you, subscribe to me on YouTube, and send me a DM. I was like, this is too much. You got to make it basic. I'd rather you have basic instructions that is trying to, instead of trying to achieve all of your marketing objectives, focus on that goal, right? So you got to figure out what your goal is. And then as well, with Instagram giveaways or any giveaway, make sure it's relevant. Your giveaway, what you're giving away, is relevant to your ideal customer. So some people, it's like, you can do a giveaway, an Amazon gift card. That's relevant to everybody. You know, you could sell size only, you could have a store that only sells size 14 Shaq size shoes. Clearly, everybody's not your customer, right? It's very specific. And if you're giving an Amazon gift card, everybody cares, but those are not the people you care about. You only care about people who are size 14. Right. So think about that. Think about what you're giving away, making your contest simple. It doesn't have to be basic, but it has to be simple. It's not too many steps, right? Use a third party software such as King Sumo. There's so many, but if you go on AppSumo, I think they have a long like a lifetime deal on contest software called King Sumo. And that's what there's so many other best practices, but that is what you want to do. So there's a question from Mary Lou. I have an FB group that is not engaging much. How can I improve it? So one of the things you can do is go live every day for a week. Right? Promote that, have the conversations. What you do in advance is, if no one's asking you questions yet, anticipate what their questions will be and say, hey, I got a few questions in the DM. Yeah, okay, whatever. But you got a few questions from a few people in the past, and you're going to start answering these questions. So do live Q&As, and maybe think of it as a series. So you're going to go live for a week, and every day we're going to tackle this topic and then this topic. And then if you promoted a week in advance, you ask people for their questions. What you want to do is, you have to be regular in Facebook groups, especially. You have to be encouraging the conversation and finding the kind of content that they like, throwing in value resources, maybe even doing a contest. So gamify it. It doesn't have to be an epic contest. It could be for your time, for example. So another question is, how do you increase views and engagement on LinkedIn? Well, one of the things, it goes back to the same thing, is you have to make sure that you are regular on LinkedIn. So one of the things that we know for sure right now, hashtags are starting to become important on LinkedIn. You want to use anywhere between 3 and 9. I'm actually doing a show tonight on the LinkedIn algorithm. It's really, with LinkedIn, it's understanding the algorithm. So you have to be posting at the best times on LinkedIn. Another thing for boosting engagement and views is making sure that, and I talked about this, is like those golden hours that you are creating content where people actually want to comment on. LinkedIn prioritizes comments and conversation over everything. That's their jam. And if more people are liking and commenting on your stuff, it will get out further in the algorithm. Another thing that I'll be talking about tonight is, and I'll let this go because I know not everybody's on on LinkedIn, is that If you are posting too much on LinkedIn is actually now starting to hurt some people. So you want to give breathing room in between your posts, like every couple of days when you start to see the views and engagement start to drop because they have very short shelf lives. Oftentimes, then that's when it's time to post your next thing. So plan for that. But there's so many different strategies. And as well, of course, if you are active in the network, that will always reward you. If LinkedIn is your money network, spend the time, effort, and energy commenting and posting and liking. Another thing that can help you create awesome scroll stopping content is if you get help, right? So actually working with somebody to help you edit. If you're not an editor, don't take it on yourself. There's Fiverr, there's Upwork, there's people right now. You can ask people who which editor they're using, how much are they paying, all that kind of stuff, or whatever you need. Or you can also, for accountability, partner up. So say, for example, you're thinking about doing a live show or a podcast. Maybe rather than being solo, you can either do interviews where you're partnering up with people, or you can also think of someone who would be a really good referral partner. You both serve the same client from different angles. You could create a show or a series, right? It gives you the out, a 6-part series, a 3-part series with somebody else. You now have the accountability to create it. You're now drawing eyeballs from both sides. You're rooting it in value, which makes people want to stop. And all of a sudden, you will see the momentum and the consistency. And you see how these are the tenets of social media, right? That value, consistency, showing up regularly, that stuff matters. So those are the strategies. And then finally, I just want to share just my tools that I love using. I've mentioned a few that I have not mentioned in here, in these tools, except for one. But I'll let you know about another tool within the tool that you might not have known about. So these are my favorite tools for live streaming, for creating video. And as I said, 80% of content within the next 2 years that is viewed on the internet is going to be video based. So for live streaming, I use Restream. And I use other things too, but Restream is what I recommend, or also StreamYard. If you're thinking about live streaming, they have free versions that will allow you to create a professionally produced looking show and broadcast it to multiple networks at the same time. So my broadcast goes to LinkedIn where the conversation happens, but I also broadcast it over to Facebook and Twitter and YouTube at the same time. And yes, I know that those networks are not engaged as much as the other ones, where I'll get 300 or 400 comments literally on LinkedIn, and I could get 5 comments on YouTube, and maybe 20, if I'm lucky, on Facebook. But it doesn't matter. People are seeing it, but I know my money network, obviously, because the grass is greener where you water it, is on LinkedIn. So that's where the community is happening. So Restream allows you to have a studio show if you want to have a studio show. I overcomplicate mine, but this software, and StreamYard as well, allows you to create something that looks really professional. And you can invite guests on, you can do town halls, all that stuff. So that's a really awesome way to go. Filmora is what I use for editing my videos. So if I am creating videos, or if I'm remixing my live show and taking a chunk because I want to reshare that with my network and just a little bit of a teaser chunk, I can edit in Filmora, and it's kind of like the Canva of editing. So it's a much more easier than Adobe Premiere or the other more complicated editing software out there. And they have a lot of templates that you can drag and drop into. Clipscribe is if you want to make those square videos with closed captions down at the bottom, kind of decorate the top, you can do that, and it will transcribe and create the closed captions for your video, and you can do some editing in there as well. You can have like a bar that shows the completion bar. It's a really cool software. Filmora, so Restream is a freemium product. They have free, plus they have different versions of their solution. Filmora, you can get Filmora 9, I believe it is, for, I think it's less than $100, or the Filmora Pro for like $150 or something like that. Not too bad in price. ClipScribe is somewhere, I think, around $70, and it's worth it. And that's an annual. And Canva Pro is absolutely worth it for graphic design. They've added video elements and editing into there as well. So it's even more, the video editing is more basic than Filmora, but definitely usable, definitely serviceable as well. I know I mentioned Canva before, but did you know that Canva has a stories app? That is it. So they have Canva regular, and then Canva IG stories or Canva stories that you can create really dynamic stories in. So I recommend that everybody who has a business pays for the pro subscription to Canva. It is 100% worth it. You'll get your money worth it and then some. But also check out the Canva Stories app. And if you've already paid for Canva Pro, you get all the pro features as well. But even without paying for it, it's worth it. That's where you can create, remember I talked about templates? That's where you can create templates to make your graphics a lot easier, plus everything else from presentations. This whole presentation, by the way, was created in Canva using all their icons and different things that I use. So I love Canva. So these are my go-to content software. There's a whole lot. I test content all the time, or test software and apps all the time, and I talk about it on my show. But when it comes to creating video, here are some of the tools that I have. But I built this whole studio, my cameras, my everything. I built it over time. But if you're looking to fast track some of the stuff, so you see the very mic that I use, you want to buy like a good mic, because sound is everything. You want to make sure you have earbuds if you're going live, for example. There are a lot of lav mics right now that can incredibly increase the quality of your production, even if you're doing stories. You can connect a mic to your phone and it sounds like you're close, like you're in a mic, as opposed to the ambient sound that comes in the back. It's amazing. And these mics are not expensive at all. So the video camera that I use, and you can create video with it. I also have another camera, but what I stream with, what I'm using right now, is called the Logitech Brio. So if you're thinking about buying a webcam, it is a little bit more pricier. It's almost $300. It's wavering a bit because of COVID, but it is the best webcam on the market, and I've used a lot of Logitech products, and this is by far the best. It will light you no matter your skin tone, from light to dark. It doesn't matter. It just detects the light and knows how to backlight you properly. Yes, you can use lights, and I do, but it works so well, and it gives you this really clean quality stream. I suggest that if you're creating scroll stopping content, that you also get one of these selfie stick tripods. So if you search Amazon for selfie stick, I can't even speak, selfie stick tripod, you'll find one that has a remote control. You'd be amazed at what type of content you can create with it. You can even do stories with that, especially if you put it on hands-free. So try that. When it comes to creating content, make sure your lighting is great. I use that square light down at the bottom, so that this right here, it's a flat panel light. I've also used a ring light. Those are great. I just really love the flat panel lights, but also by creating content with the window in front of you, not behind you, in front of you, you get beautiful natural light and you'll be lit perfectly. So these are my tools that I suggest people start with. Again, watch my show, Just Us Share Live, every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on LinkedIn and all the other networks. It's worth it. I share a lot of stuff. And I just want to remind you guys that first start with the strategy, always thinking about value. always thinking about what you can deliver, and more importantly, before we even get to value, what is it you're trying to accomplish in your business? In the beginning of your business, is it you're trying to build awareness of who you are? Is it you need to help people better understand that this is the problem that they didn't know they had, whatever it is? Or if there's if you're doing a launch for a particular product or service, what do people need to know before the launch? So you think about the goals. What is it you want to accomplish? And then you start thinking about, well, how can I deliver value through those goals to achieve those goals? And then you create the content, right? Thinking about as your tactics, thinking about, capturing, your ideas as they stop your thumb so that you can create templates with them, that you can batch create content, looking for those evergreen angles, looking for ways to create content that you can actually commit to, because consistency is key. So whether it's a series, whether it's the type of content you'd like to create, make sure that you're looking for ways that make sense. And of course, choosing that money network. So making sure that content makes sense for the network. And also what you can also think about here is, you want to make sure that you are, if you need to be held accountable, perhaps co-create with somebody. There are so many different ways to create content, and those tactics will help you create what you need to. But don't forget that when you create those scroll stoppers, that you reshare them and remix them. There's more than one ways to skin a cat, as they say. That's a horrible saying. I gotta find something new because that was so 1980s. But anyways, yes, there are more than one ways to do something, to share content, and you want to take advantage of that. And so make sure you're doing that. Don't get too caught up in the tools. Tools are there to help you. But the ones I shared are definitely really useful, and I literally use them, some of them every day, some of them at least once a week. So they are phenomenal, and the tools, whether it's the software or the hardware, I wanted to share what is most important. So now it's time to answer your questions. Good, I got like 10 minutes to ask and answer questions. So I saw one thing is, how do you know if you're giving away too much or too little value? Info that is usually paid for. So here's my thoughts. If you watch my show every week, I just give it away, because the people who are going to DIY their way, they were never going to work with you anyway, right? They can Google their way to success. And here's the thing. If someone gets all they need to solve their problems within a 5-minute video, a 4-minute read, or whatever it is you're creating, a checklist, if that's all they needed was a checklist, they weren't your client to begin with. What you need to do is think about, and I always recommend people who are afraid about, and I understand that fear. I've been there before, so I get it. But now I see the power in just giving it away. Those who are meant to work with me will work with me. Even those who don't work with me, refer me, because they're not the expert either. They're just trying to figure it out, but they will refer me. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to prepare people to work with me, prepare people for my preview call. So I offer a coaching preview call, where what I can do in advance of that is help people envision what they want for their brand. What are their goals? What do they want to accomplish? So I create content around what's possible, so that they can see themselves in that and want to have a conversation. And it's still valuable because you're teaching people techniques and strategies for them to stretch their thinking with what's possible. So you think about it that way, things that will work with your product, so that people can see how your product will fit in with what they already have, right? So you could think about it that way. But you want to make sure that with whatever content you're showcasing what's in here, or how things work, so that people can envision it for them. So as much as it's hard to kind of like release what we know, trust and believe that your true client can't learn and do everything that you can do within watching you speak for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, whatever, 2 minutes. They just can't. So what they're paying for is your ability to apply what you know to their situation. And sometimes it's about even showcasing how you can apply it to other situations. So hopefully that answers. So I'm here to help. And in the meantime, I do want to remind you that if you kind of sort of try, you kind of sort of get results. I know people have been asking questions throughout, but I'm here if you have any more questions.
Wow, Cher. Oh my goodness. I think I was scrambling to take notes. I posted on Instagram stories, all of that, and now I'm inspired to do more video. So thank you.
Love it.
And all the apps that you suggested. I know the Big View. I honestly had just started using it.
Yes.
Great tips, all of them actionable. And I know from all these comments, everyone's appreciating it too. So
Let me just stop sharing here. Feel free, guys, just to also connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. I'm here. Just search Cher Jones. I'll come up, or it's Cher Jones. So ITS Cher Jones on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else. So you can find me there. How long should video content be on LinkedIn and Instagram, IGTV to maximize engagement? Okay, so there's two schools of thought. Right now, the algorithms, the work done on the algorithm right now, especially on LinkedIn, this report just came out. I'm actually talking about it tonight because it's so significant. They're saying videos under a minute are doing the best. But the question is, delivering value under a minute, you have to remember that those short videos, when you think about top of funnel, that might be just get your attention videos. Your customers or your potential customers are in that middle funnel. They're doing the evaluation, the education stage. They're trying to figure things out, right? And they need more than a minute. I'm sorry, like if I'm investing a couple $1,000 or $500, even $100 in a product, I need to know more than this quick video that grabbed my attention. So while because it's general, think about it this way, it's general audiences, right? So of course more people are going to watch it, but your videos should be as long and as short as they need to let people know the information that they need to take them to the next step without wasting their time. So it's about being smart. And sometimes that might be breaking it up so people can consume it. So, because you got to think about yourself, you'll watch an hour webinar or 2-hour webinar if you need to know something. And those are your clients who are actually purchasing something. They need to know something. So what you want to do is switch it up. Don't worry too much on time, focus on value, but also experiment a little bit. Do long form videos, do short form videos. Think about where people are in the customer journey so that that you're doing a longer format video, less people will watch the whole thing because less people are your customers. But for those that are, and they find that resource, that will be value to them. And then you can sort of experiment between and find your sweet spot.
great. All comes back to value. And listening, put it out there, and then watching the engagement and responding and adjusting, right?
It's really that basic.
Yeah.
And I know it really is. It's that basic. If you focus on value to your ideal clients and think about their journey, and value even comes down to your packaging. How much is too much at once? You want to deliver value. And this, for example, this webinar might even been too much for someone where it's like, it's too much value, it's too overwhelming. But knowing that it's recorded, knowing that you can go back, then it becomes like, let me focus on just the strategy first and come into the tactics. And it was really a full, I tried to deliver what I promised in the write-up. So I had to cover it that way. And also, recognizing that for something like this, it's a general audiences. Some people have product businesses. Some people have service-based businesses. Some people they have an art business, a jewelry business, a money business. Like it's all over. So That's one of the reasons why you guys didn't see you didn't see any screenshots of what people are doing to get content envy with the equipment that you don't have or the skill set you don't have. If you start in what you offer and think about your customers and just get experience building content and seeing what stops your attention and using that as a template to recreate, you'll get it. Don't make sure that when you're looking at other people's content, rather than getting envy, flip that into what did they do to make this work? What was it that stopped my attention? How can I use this and as an idea, as a jump off point from my content for my clients?
Scroll stopping social media that converts. You nailed it. Cher, thank you so very much for all of that, from engagement to content. And it's all part of your big strategy. So continue to follow, share LinkedIn and Instagram, because I'm sure and I know you have so much more to share. And then remember that our webinars, I will send out a link to this webinar, and know that we archive them all because it's got email marketing, we have content marketing, basic digital marketing, 7 steps that I do from end to end so you don't miss a step. And then social media will never end. And it is such a vast topic that just keep learning, everyone. Learn and adjust as needed for your audience and your business to help you reach those goals and grow your business.